Denise Ashurst
has joined.
Good afternoon. We are in our first inaugural meeting of the Southern Nevada Council of Governments, and I will officially call us to order and ask for a roll call. And I will say that Mayor Pro Tem Black is on his way. He'll be a few minutes late.
Councilman Knudsen,
I'm here.
Councilwoman Allen Polinsky, Commissioner Jones, Commissioner McCurdy, Councilman Stewart, Councilwoman Larson, excuse, Councilman Churchio, Councilman Black, excuse, Councilwoman Ashurst.
here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much, and I'm assuming we're in compliance with the open meeting law.
We are.
Thank you, and I am bringing us to item number 3, which is public comment. Comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, please step forward now. Hearing and seeing none, we'll close the public comment period. And number 4 is introduction of the Southern Nevada Council of Government members.
So Mayor Pro Tem Seth Floyd, for the record, what I thought you might want to do here is just have everyone introduce themselves and the jurisdiction they're with.
I will start. Brian Knudsen with the City of Las Vegas.
Justin Jones, Clark County Commission.
William McCurdy, Clark County Commission.
Francis Polinsky, Las Vegas City Council.
Denise Ashurst, Boulder City.
Richie Churchio, City of North Las Vegas.
Dan Stewart, City of Henderson.
And we are now on to item number 5, discussion for possible action regarding the election of chair and vice chair.
Nominate Councilman Knudsen.
I will
as
take
chair.
that. Thank you.
And Commissioner Jones as vice chair.
There is a motion. Is there any discussion?
Need a second?
Do we need a second here? I don't think so, yeah. Okay, there's a motion on the table. Please cast your votes. Or, aye.
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 That motion passes.
Aye.
Thank you very much. This is all a little bit new to me too, because I'm used to the buttons. So every jurisdiction does it completely differently if you say aye or hit a button. So we'll move on to item number 6, discussion for possible action regarding the designation of interim staff members for terms expiring February 28th, 2027.
And Mayor Pro Tem Seth Floyd, for the record, so what we were going to ask you all to do under this item is to designate an executive director, which is provided for in your interlocal agreement, and that would be the point person, the staff point person for you for the first year. And then, of course, we can go from there after the first year, but we were hoping you would appoint someone for that first year so we can get you and keep you organized.
Thank you, Mr. Floyd. So for those of you who weren't participating in the Southern Nevada Regional Planning Coalition, we had a discussion around staffing. Within the City of Las Vegas, we built into the city manager's office the potential for that appointment. with Mr. Floyd serving as the executive director, if that's the will of this board. And if you have any questions or comments, but we did build into the structure within the city manager's office within the city of Las Vegas to staff this for the initial inaugural year to see kind of how it goes and if we need to make any adjustments throughout that year. Unless there's any questions, objections, comments, then I would move for Mr. Floyd to serve as the executive director of the Southern Nevada Council of Governments. There's a motion on the floor. If you can, please vote. Aye.
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 And any opposition? Hearing and seeing none, you are up, Mr. Floyd.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I am very pleased that my first act in this role is to give you all a little reminder and overview of the Council of Governments, the purpose, how we got here, and then tell you a little bit. So we'll do item number 7, and then if we can open item number 8 after that, we'll talk a little bit about where we're headed in the first year with this group. So just a reminder, the purpose of this group, of the COG versus the SNRPC, is to serve as a forum for regional collaboration. Actually, oh, thank you. There's my clicker. Is to serve as a forum for regional collaboration among each of our member entities and address some of those issues that really transcend our borders. These regional issues don't always have boundaries, and I can think of a few: air quality, conservation, population forecasting, infill development, and a variety of others. We all share those issues. We all deal with them in our individual jurisdictions, and of course we deal with those collectively. And so the goal of this board is to start addressing those and identifying some of those common needs and study those throughout the year or longer, depending on what we decide. As you all know, and you won't be surprised by these images because I'm sure you've seen them for your jurisdictions and for the Valley, we've grown a lot since 1973. We were pretty small back then. In 2000, we were getting closer to what we are today. And then, of course, we are now very built out in the Valley here. The city of Las Vegas in particular has reached the edge of where we can grow. I know Clark County, Henderson, you guys, and North Las Vegas to some degree has some more land to go, but we are all dealing with the infrastructure challenges and other challenges related to that rapid growth. Just a few other things that we're all dealing with here as a region. We are currently sitting at about 2.5 million population. Our economy, for most of us, is based on gaming revenue and tourism, which we see as significant revenue and visitor volume, which also puts strain on our infrastructure. We've got 5 national parks and recreation areas nearby, 600 miles of mountain biking and hiking trails. And if you're wondering why I put those on here, the previous SNRPC actually did a lot of work through the Rost group on open space and trails. And so I mentioned that here too, because those were some of the issues that the previous SNRPC were dealing with. One of the other things that we will be able to do with this group and how we envision this heading is also leveraging the resources and expertise in some of our other member agency and utility partners. All of these folks play a vital role in how we grow and develop and dealing with some of those regional issues. I just put a few of them up here. Depending on the topic that we end up choosing for the year, we may be asking some of these folks to participate with us in either finding policy solutions or identifying other things that we can deal with as a region. So I just wanted to highlight a few of them here. Just quickly going through some of sort of the nuts and bolts of how the group will operate. So in the interlocal agreement that each of the jurisdictions have entered into, we've provided for really 3 big things that you all do. One is having your meetings like we're doing now. We anticipate those to basically be quarterly, although you can have special meetings if you feel like you need one, and those meetings can be called by the chair and the vice chair. You can also create committees as needed. We'll be discussing that a little bit later as well, about having staff do some of the work that gets us to the point of having these meetings. And of course, budget and financing, that is something you are authorized to do, although we have committed, I think everyone's committed to you all, that we will not be asking any jurisdictions for any budget for this group, at least for the first year. So we are all free, and everybody in this room. And I should take a moment to thank. We have a lot of staff here. A lot of staff supported the SNRPC, and they are continuing to support the COG. They really do a lot of heavy lifting to get us to this point, and did a lot of heavy lifting getting that interlocal adopted. So we really appreciate all of their help, and I am grateful for their continued support as well. We talked through some of this already, but just wanted a quick reminder of the scope and purpose of the COG: to coordinate, communicate, and cooperate, to address those regional issues, identify the common needs that we have, and provide a forum. And I think this is where we differ most from the SNRPC, is the idea is that this is a clearinghouse, a place where we can address some of those issues and decide a path forward on those without some of the constraints that we had previously under state law of the SNRPC. And then we can advocate for those mutual interests depending on what comes out of that discussion. The powers that you all have, these may look familiar because they are similar to the SNRPC. You can develop your rules. You could enter into contracts with consultants. The SNRPC had hired a number of consultants over the years to do some regional planning. That could continue. You are authorized to hire staff. Again, we're going to use existing staff currently, but in the future, as this gets built out, you would have the option to potentially build that out with independent staff. You can hold hearings and public forums, just like we're doing here today. You can identify and study those matters of regional significance. You could enter into further and more formal intergovernmental cooperation agreements if you would like. Study regional programs of interest, federal land disposal, and advocate for mutual interests at the regional, state, and federal levels. All of those are authorized in your cooperative agreement, which I think gives you a nice breadth and scope that you can do a lot of things with that, and with a lot of flexibility in how to do it. All right, so any questions for me on item number 7, or for our staff? All right, then, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move on to number 8 if you're ready for it.
That would be great. Thank you.
All right, so probably the most important thing that we will do this year is to choose that first topic. And I view the first year really as a proof of concept. I think if this board is going to be successful, this year 1, maybe year and a half, are going to be the most important. And so it's critical that we choose a topic that we can meaningfully dig our teeth into and make some meaningful progress on. And so with that in mind, and I'm calling it an icebreaker, but really it's just to get the wheels turning. And you've got a pad of paper, or you should have a pad of paper up at your seat. So I'm going to ask a question that we'll ask you all to share. I'm not going to make you share, but hopefully you'll feel some peer pressure to do it. But if money was no object and boundaries were not a barrier, what's the number one thing you would change or address in Southern Nevada? So I'll start a timer, give you maybe 2 or 3 minutes to think about that, to get the conversation started. We're going to start an official timer too. All right, I think most everyone is done. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll let you decide who gets to go first.
I like going first, so I'll go first just to set the tone. And I do want to start off by saying thank you to those council members who participate and commissioners, because this particular organization is incredibly important to me for a couple of reasons. One is, and I'll give you an example. This morning we were briefed on the success of the Southern Nevada Forum. Some of us have participated in that in the past, and in our briefing we talked about Northern Nevada is so much better organized at going after state funding and state dollars and state laws than Southern Nevada, because we're constantly kind of going back and forth in Southern Nevada. The Southern Nevada Forum was used as an example of how successful we are, and the last example that was brought up in our briefing was the UNLV Medical School. So that was 15 years ago that funding was allocated for that, and that was the example that was given for how successful we are at organizing as far as Southern Nevada goes. So in my experience, the federal government looks to groups like this for funding. They look to groups like this for how they can organize and invest time and energy, because they want to see collaborative organizations come together. For me personally, the things that came up just this last week as a council member, I was in a meeting earlier today. We were talking about regional approaches to childcare. Because that is something every jurisdiction across the board is struggling with, that we don't have enough childcare throughout our valley. And that is not a state issue, but if it was, it'd be great if we were able to organize around state support for those kinds of issues. I was also involved in multiple meetings around terrorism, which is not something that the city of Las Vegas takes lead on. Metropolitan Police Department is taking a much stronger stance around terrorism. It'd be great if, as a region, we organize around that. The other issue that's come up a lot of times for me over the last couple of weeks is our capacity as a region to look at people who are speeding and running through red lights. That's a huge political issue, but it'd be nice if we have some consistency across the valley as to how we're approaching people who are driving really badly, and the safety for people on our streets, because that's something that every jurisdiction is struggling with. Those are three issues that have just come up in the last week for me that cross the jurisdictional boundaries, not to include how much time I spent on mental health care and access to health care in general, which are not City of Las Vegas issues or NSHE issues or county issues. They're everybody's issues. But how we started this was a conversation with Councilman Stewart and I several years ago. The thing that we all kind of come together around on the planning coalition was land use. And every single session, each of our jurisdictions are fighting with state legislators around how the state can impose restrictions or enable language around how we use land use within the jurisdictions that we understand, our wards that we understand very, very well, our wards and our districts. And so even if it's just one issue that we come together on around land use, that's a success, because we can go to the legislature and say, we actually all understand our areas pretty well, and we understand how the state can support us or can hurt us together. And if we go beyond that and pick other issues, I think there's a multitude of issues that each of us care about, and I'm willing to bet if we can sit down and talk about it, we can align around our jurisdictions around how best to support Southern Nevada. So that's how I'll start off with, and I very much appreciate everyone who's sitting in the audience, because this would be a passion project for me, because I love Southern Nevada and I love Las Vegas, but I live in Clark County as well, and you're my county commissioner, and there's a lot of things I want to see from this region that my kids would benefit from, and we all need to work together on those things. And with that, I will turn it over to the rest of you.
Thank you. I love your passion. My passion is education. I'm not going to go long on this. This is a very highly charged politically and every other way issue. I've been deeply involved in it for many years, but I'm just looking at what's put up here. Money is no object. The boundaries aren't a problem because we have CCSD that covers all of our boundaries. So, but I would love to see somehow for the education of our children, K through 12 and even higher education, to improve. It's that simple. Simply stated, probably one of the most complex issues ever. So that's what I see.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So far, both of you, my colleagues, and yourself are part of my list. So I'll try not to.
Right as soon as I could.
I'll try not to be redundant. But, just by speaking to our constituents in North Las Vegas, of course, affordable housing is important. Economic development, bringing in the businesses here that will help complement the businesses, families with affordable housing. I think the income that we get from the gaming entities is great. But I think not too long ago, we saw just what that could do if you invest all your money in one basket. So I would say that's exactly what we're trying to do in North Las Vegas, to diversify our base income and get additional medical services. So, at least in North Las Vegas, and I speak to myself, where if my wife needs a doctor in a timely manner, which I think is almost impossible no matter where you live in the valley here, we have to travel to Henderson, we have to travel to the southern part. We have virtually little bit in North Las Vegas, although we're working to change that now, but I think, that's a priority for us, and it could be a priority time-wise for the other jurisdictions as well. Thank you.
If money were no object and boundaries were not an issue, I'd figure out how to make this chair not lean back so far. This is like easy rider right here. I don't know what's going on with this chair, but it's good for my core exercises and good posture. Anyway, enough about the chair. Not this chair. So each year I go on I participate in the homeless census. And it's interesting, in North Las Vegas, I start at City Hall and I walk around the downtown area, kind of a big triangle. I go on foot, and it's interesting. I've seen the same people many years in a row, the same folks that are out there unhoused in our community. And so I think if we have the continuum of care, we have federal inputs, we have programs, but I think what we're lacking is consistency of care and continuation of care to go with the continuum of care. We have restrictions on, whether it's insurance or Medicare or Medicaid, 89 days. There are people in our community that I think truly need permanent supportive housing and the supports that go with permanent and supportive. And until we figure out how to fund that, we're going to just be playing the same game and seeing the same folks out on the streets. And so if money were no object, I think it would be awesome to be able to support people, meet their needs, and give them a safe, healthy place to live, but also the supports that go with that so they can be productive parts of our community.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Money no object is definitely not realistic, but I love to have the Socratic discussion. My first is safer streets. And I guess as a subsection of that is specifically school zone traffic safety for kids. Of course, the number of children hit in crosswalks in nearby school has doubled at this point since previous years, and it's certainly something that is currently pressing and potentially something that we can universally agree with. It doesn't matter your party affiliation or your geographic boundaries, where we're from, et cetera, et cetera. Universally, we can all agree that our kids need to be safer at school and getting there and back. Of course, already mentioned by Councilman Churchio and Shaw, but better and higher quality education, again, along the same lines, and more interjurisdictional cooperation. We're all trying to get to the same place. We can argue about how to get there, but we're all trying to get there. And I would cite, instead of affordable housing, more attainable housing. It was interesting. I met with Lennar earlier today in the morning, and I don't know if you realize the average age of the home buyer today is first-time home buyer, 40 years old. 2 generations ago, it was 23 years old. So we have a big gap there, and I think it's something that we can all agree home ownership is really the stair step to the middle class, and anything we can do to help facilitate that is a great thing. And a couple that haven't been mentioned, I put more senior fraud prevention, anything we can do to help our senior citizens. I have a large population that I represent myself. And lastly, anything we can do to make government more nimble and more business friendly. As a longtime small business person, I think that if we can break down any barriers and make government more responsive for the people, that's for the better. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'd just like to ditto everything that's been mentioned, especially and underscore attainable housing, workforce housing, et cetera. But for me, and what I've been hearing from constituents is public transit. It's a very critical need in our community, and get a lot of complaints and folks missing, they're getting parts of their shifts and getting home late. So if we can improve public transit, and also that would come with street design, I think that would go a long way for our community to being self-sustainable and maintaining agency over themselves and their ability to grow.
First, I just want to say congrats to the chair and all of those that have been working on getting us to today for 8 years. I know I've been on Southern Nevada Regional Planning Coalition for 7 years. I know Councilman Stewart and others, Councilman Black, Churchio may have been involved early on. There were a lot of discussions. It took a long, long time. So kudos to the board members, but also kudos to the staff from the county and cities who worked on this for ages, literally, to get to today. For those of you that were at preview a few weeks ago, we heard a fantastic discussion from Jeremy Aguero, who gave his, as always, entertaining and enlightening discussion of where we are and where we're headed as a community. And then right after him was Dave Demore from Brookings Mountain West, who brought the vibe of the room down about 7 octaves. And he, as he has done for many years now, told us all of the things that we need to do as a state and as a community in order to actually grow up. And I think we could go through all of those things as the Council of Governments and try and work on them collectively. But the one that I think in particular helps solve a lot of the other problems is to modernize and diversify our tax structure. Until we're ready to do that, and some of the issues are constitutional, are going to take a really giant lift and are not politically popular, and absent a regional body like this, we're never going to get there.
So I'm going to give Mr. Floyd a chance to respond, but I want to say I appreciate all of you. I think we all are trying to go in the same direction, and it gets complicated when we come back to our individual jurisdictions. But the opportunity for us to come together and identify key issues, and I would say I don't think the intention is for Mr. Floyd or the city of Las Vegas to run with it and represent any one individual organization. The goal is that we come to a consensus to the extent that we can, go back to our individual organizations, do our best to get consensus at our individual organizations, and then come back and have staff kind of work on what does that look like? How do we approach the state legislature or the federal government or any one of these entities that we all talked about that intersect with the work that we're doing? And so I appreciate you being honest about what makes Southern Nevada better, and Mr. Floyd, a reflection.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I don't know if Boulder City is still on the phone. Okay.
I so apologize because I can't see you, but I hear your voice ahead. So please, please.
Yes, and I'm getting ready to go into council. We have a city council meeting at 5 o'clock. The question was if money was no object, whether money is an object or not. I think that we need to invest in our youth some way, somehow, maybe get a discussion on mentorship programs. I grew up in New York with YMCA, YWCAs. That was an integral part of our community, raising our youth to take the place of, what we're doing. Also, education on prevention to trafficking. We are the number one, I think we're number one to Atlanta or second to Atlanta in trafficking, and maybe we could address some of those type of things that are underlined in our state. Everything that everyone mentioned was spot on. I've been typing like crazy as you were talking with the homelessness and senior fraud and attainable housing, but I think underpinned in all that is the next generation and how all those things they'll be impacted by. So I'd like to maybe lean into things that will bring up the next generation.
Thank you very much, and enjoy your council meeting. Say hi to Mayor Hardy for us.
I will. Thank you. Thank you all. Take care.
All right, so thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think that gives us, and appreciate the deep thought on those issues. I think that's going to give us a lot to think about as we head into the session in March where we're going to select that. So let me go through a couple of slides, and I want a quick reaction maybe to some of the things I heard. Those are some excellent topics. I think any one of those could be something we could choose. And the beauty of the way this board is structured is that we, instead of taking on, I'm sure at all your city councils, you have an agenda with 35, 40, 50 or more items, and you're dealing with a whole host of issues. The nice thing about this board is we can pick one of those and really focus on it for the year and bring in all the resources, marshal all the resources that you would need to get your head around it, address it, and figure out some potential policy solutions, or if you're looking for grants or whatever that ends up being. So I think the idea is that we pick one and really dig into it and get to know it and come up with the right solutions for that issue. So we had come up, I think yours were better than the ones we had come up with. We just threw some up here that we had heard throughout the years of SNRPC. We heard a couple of these: homelessness, housing is on there, diversifying the economy, transit, education. So all of these are things that have come up before this board in the past over the last decade or so. And so what we are planning to do, and I'll just skip to the last step here. So this was a great preliminary discussion on the topic. At your next meeting on March 31st, we'll be doing a more formal facilitated discussion where we will actually pick what that topic is going to be. We are going to be doing some outreach. I think Councilman Knudsen is going to participate in that with each one of you to start talking through some of the questions that I put up on this slide. We'd like to understand a little more about what your strategic priorities are for your city and county, and what kind of the top 3 issues that you're dealing with are. You've obviously identified some of those today, and we're going to take a deeper dive into those as well to see where we might find some alignment. So, and then we will present on those topics that we narrow it down to at the next meeting, and then have a facilitated discussion to select that topic. The remainder of the year, your remaining meetings for this year, and of course it can continue to the next year, that would be at your discretion, will be to then flesh out that topic and decide the direction that we're going to go. And I don't want to foreshadow where we might be headed, because I think it depends on what the topic is, how we actually approach it. And so that will come into some more clarity after we select the topic. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions on selecting the topic.
I'm going to make a suggestion, if it's okay. If as Mr. Floyd and or I sit down and talk with you, I think it's helpful to talk to your organization or your other elected body members to find out what they're not comfortable with us going forward with. I think that's very important. If there's anything that's just off the table, off limits, you don't want a regional group like this discussing it, then we need to know that, because there's no intention at all from the city of Las Vegas to impede upon the goals or priorities of each of your organizations. And so if you're able to have those conversations with your management team and your other elected members to say what's off topic, what don't we want to talk about, I think that's a healthy conversation. And then as we meet with you, like trying to narrow down what it is you want to talk about, what I think the beauty of this board is the SNRPC was really focused in on planning and land use, and that's still incredibly important. But a lot of the issues that we talked about were not necessarily planning or land use. And so having Mr. Floyd in the manager's office gives us access to staff resources throughout the city. And there's potential that we need to bring in resources from other organizations as well. And my gut tells me that a letter coming from a council of governments to NCHI saying we need you to present, or CCSD we need you to present, or to the Nevada State Legislature saying this is what Southern Nevada expects, I think that carries a lot of weight. Especially as we get off the ground and start to move it forward. So those are my thoughts around what the next steps could look like, is really understanding what the limits are for each of you individually and for your organizations, and what the hopes are.
And Mr. Chairman, I would just add to that also that one of the other limits you're not, at least not as bound by, is that if you were to pick a topic that also has jurisdiction somewhere else, for example with the RTC or another regional group, you can explore that issue differently. Now, we will probably try to steer you towards things where there's not already a group working on that particular topic, because I think where we add value is to either take a subset of that topic or one that is adjacent to it, and that's where I think the real value is. But obviously, we'll deal with that as we get to those issues. But I think the flexibility that you have gives you some ability to work around those restrictions that other groups might have that you don't.
Mr. Chairman, I did have one question and one request. Based on what we discussed over here, I would like to have a list of that to bring back to my colleagues at City Council. They're all very important, and I think we all share the concerns, but very possibly at the end of the day, we could select an item that covers all of the jurisdictions rather than each individual one, so we don't have any questions that's more important here in North Las Vegas, more important to Las Vegas. There are some items that were brought up that cross all jurisdictional lines, and I'm not going to say we should start off with something easy, but maybe we could start off with something that we could agree to, that even some type of minimal accomplishment will set us off to the next item. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, Seth Floyd for the record. I definitely think we need a win in the first year, so I agree with that. But as to sending these out, yeah, I saw that staff was taking notes. We can send a summary of those topics out to the board after the meeting.
My suggestion was a logo. If we can all agree on a logo, that's a great first step. That's all I'm looking for. In 2 months, a logo.
Mr. Chair, with AI, you can put a logo together before the end of the meeting, so I think we're good.
We should add that to the list of things we need to address.
That should have been the icebreaker, have everyone create a logo and submit it for the group.
Mr. Floyd, for anybody on this board, are they able to reach out to you if they want to give direction?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, when we send out, what we'll do, we'll send out all of our staff contacts who you can reach out to for now, and we'll make sure that you have that information. But yes, absolutely. You can reach out to me, Marco, Ian, Brianna on my team. We're all available. And Councilman, I know you've agreed to make some of your staff available to assist with this as well. So we're going to make sure we have at least all the staff support we need. And we've already, the rest of the staff, which I think we're going to talk a little bit about in item number 9, has already been working on this, and they've been convening multiple times over the last 3 or 4 months, and they're all in.
I haven't read any of the items. Am I getting in trouble from a...
This is Jillian Block-Sagerblum for the record. I think that we're okay for now, but...
I'm not going to jail over this.
No, I...
Okay, which item? We're on item number 9, right? I will read that one. Discussion for possible action to establish the Southern Nevada Council of Government Staff Standing Committee.
So, Mr. Chairman, under the old SNRPC had in the interlocal and now I'm drawing a blank on what it was called, but they had a staff group that was actually called out in the meeting who would meet in between meetings. We are a little more flexible than that now, but what I'm still going to recommend is that we continue with those informal staff. We call it jurisdictional staff. That's been the title on our calendar entries so far, that we continue to meet, and you give me that direction to continue meeting with the jurisdictional staff as we prepare for each meeting and prepare your topics.
Do you need a motion for that?
Yes, please.
If it's okay, I will make that motion. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes.
So my preference would be to just leave it open because there might be different staff assigned, and especially as we pick our topic, that may change.
That brings us to item number 10, discussion for possible action to approve the Southern Nevada Council of Governments budget for fiscal year 26-27.
0.
So if it's okay with you, I'm going to suggest that we track how much time and energy we spend on this, including the dollars expended, and maybe report that out so the city can take credit for what we do spend money on.
Mr. Floyd, did you want me to make a motion to approve your 0 budget?
If you'd like a record of that, Commissioner, yes, you can.
So moved.
There's a motion. Please vote. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that budget passes.
Chair, if I might,
Please.
I just want to say I appreciate the point that you made of keeping track of the time that staff is on this. I remember when I was chair of the SNRPC, it was 2 or 3 years I was, and I'm not saying this for any other reason, just to reinforce what you're saying. City staff spent a ton of time energy resources on that 2 or 3 year, because it rotated. And again, not looking for any accolades, I'm just saying I think it's important that you do bring that back so we can understand what is, in terms of resources, what it is costing the city of Vegas at this time and whenever however we decide to rotate it. But I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
And as the proof of concept, my hope and my expectation is at the end of the year when we do report out how much money it's cost taxpayers, that as a board we can say it's justified and hopefully we're bringing in more, we're doing something more that is of value to taxpayers at the end of the day, and it's worth more investment. And if, as it's proof it's a concept, if it fails miserably, then being able to talk about that too. Okay. That brings us to discussion for possible action regarding the 2026 Southern Nevada Council of Government meeting schedule.
And Mr. Chairman, it should be in your backup, but if communications, or Jeff, are you back there? If you can put this on the overhead. All right, so there you go. So this is the proposed meeting schedule. Obviously, we're meeting today. March 31st will be the facilitated discussion, followed by May 26th, August 25th, and December 1st.
And the intention is for all those meetings to happen here?
Yes, we are able to host all of those meetings here.
Is that okay with everyone?
Do you need a motion to, or is this just a matter of information?
Yeah, if you could make a motion to
So
approve the
moved.
schedule, to be official, yeah.
Okay, there's a motion. Please vote. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. And that brings us to citizen participation, unless there's any other comments up here. Okay. Citizen participation, public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the council. No subject may be acted upon by the council unless that subject is on the agenda. If you'd like to comment, please step forward now. There's a whole bunch of you out there. Okay, because it's almost 5. Hearing and seeing none, we will officially adjourn the Council of Governments. Thanks, everyone.